All right. Hello, everyone. I'm David Wilson. I am managing principal of FundUuP, and welcome to this segment of Ask the Funder, where I cover questions that come in via our various social media outlets: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Questions that business owners, business bankers ask to get clarity about FundUuP, about the alternative financing industry, so they can better prepare themselves and their clients on what to expect when working with us. So this question that we're going to cover in this segment is, what do I need to work with you? So maybe I've already been turned down by my bank. Maybe I don't have a bank and I can't go to a bank. Maybe I've been told that my credit just isn't good enough to meet bank standards. What do I need to work with FundUuP? Okay, so it's pretty simple. Now I will say that it's pretty simple during a very complicated time, right? So we're in a worldwide global pandemic. So that changes a lot of what we used to do in this industry. So what that means is there's going to be a closer look at certain areas of the business, and we're going to require more documentation. So first and foremost, there's going to be an application. There's going to be an application that needs to be signed and dated. We can do that electronically, so we can get that to you. The second thing you're going to need, that we'll need for the evaluation, is your business bank account. So we're going to be looking at past revenue. What used to be, you could evaluate a company and evaluate a funding opportunity based on the last 3 months of business bank statements. Well, that has changed, because the last 3 months of business bank statements for a lot of companies are not very good, right? Because of the pandemic. So what I'm recommending now is to go back, at least the last 12 months. So if you started, well, we'll get to that in a second. At least the last 12 months of business bank statements, be able to see the trend of when the pandemic actually hit, a likely dip in revenue. And some companies haven't been affected. There is no dip. And if there isn't, there isn't. But if there is, it's explainable, and then hopefully a rise as the country begins to reopen. So you want to be able to show electronically those business bank statements, and have a business bank account housing those business bank statements. You don't want to be working from a personal account. A lot of times we will not fund that. Most times, very, very seldom will that happen, especially not nowadays. You'll need to have a business bank account. Time in, you're going to need to have time in business. Being 3 months in during a global pandemic, it's going to be tough. Likely your bank statements are not going to show enough revenue. So we're going to be looking for businesses who were in business prior to the pandemic for at least 6 months. If they show strong revenue, and then it tapers off around March or so, and then it begins to pull back up, then that's something we definitely would consider. And remember, the rule of thumb in terms of revenue, your yearly top line revenue, what you're asking from us should be equal to about a month's average top line revenue. especially if you have no collateral. If the only collateral you're using is future revenue. If you do have some real estate, if you have some other collateral, then that's a different conversation that we're open to having with you. But if it's just based on business revenue, then no, that's going to be it's going to be that rule, that average monthly top line revenue. Do you need tax returns? No, not all the time, and not typically when we're dealing with smaller funding amounts, usually below 50,000. We may need proof of ownership of the company, which would be found in tax returns. We may need to see a copy of a Schedule C, a copy of a K1, something like that. But those are all specific to particular businesses. But as you get above 50,000, it definitely, when you start getting into six figures, we're gonna start asking for last tax return filed. We're gonna start looking at P&L, profit and loss statement. We're gonna look at balance sheet. So my typical response is going to be 2019 P&L balance sheet, 2020 P&L balance sheet to date, so that we can kind of see how they compare, and also that legitimizes your operation, so we can see how the money is moving and what expenses are, what income is, and such like that. So generally speaking, the more you're asking for, the more documentation we're going to want to see. When you start getting into the 3, 4, 500,000, million, multi-million dollar range, then it's going to vary case by case. So we're going to want to see more stuff. Lastly, you want to have a business license. Make sure your business license, and I've seen this, make sure your business license is up to date. So we had this was a while back, but we had a deal held up because the last piece of information we needed to complete the file was a business license. Sent over the business license was expired, and that held everything up. So it's very important to have these documents ready, regardless of the industry you're in, and also copy of driver's license, clear copy of all owners' driver's licenses, just to prove identity. So those are the things you really need to work with FundUuP. As the processing takes place, and as we move toward funding, there may be some things that pop up. We may need a copy of your lease, a copy of, we may need to get landlord verification that your rent is up to date, confirmation that you in fact own your building if you own it, verification of certain insurance, perhaps, if that's relevant to making the deal happen. But each transaction is different, but for the most part, what I just gave you is what you need to work with us. So that's it. If you have any more questions, keep them coming. Definitely, you can go to www.fundUup.com to check out our website, and you click the button Get Pre-Qualified Now in the upper right corner. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and keep in contact with us, see what we're doing. And if you have any other questions, you can go ahead and ask. Again, I am David Wilson, Managing Principal of FundUuP, with this segment of Ask the Funder. Stay safe and stay strong and remain socially distant.